Hello, everybody. Welcome back to the channel. Today, we are going to talk about Iron Maiden's 8th studio album, No Prayer for the Dying. It was a sharp turn, a real departure from the last few years where they had a lot of synth-heavy music. They were doing some experimental stuff. Their track lists the last few years were all about 8 tracks long, and it was just banger after banger. The 80s were so good for Iron Maiden. But Steve Harris wanted to take the band in a different direction. Bruce wanted to experiment with his vocals a little bit more. So the lack of Adrian Smiths writing contributions, the more like rough, raspy tone for Bruce, which we saw the previous couple of years on some of the albums. Seventh Son, we were definitely starting to get there, but here it was much more of an aggressive approach to the songs. And now we have Janick in there. And he was the new guitarist. They still have him in the lineup, and technically he's been in the band longer than Adrian has, just because he was here for the whole 90s, and then he has just been in the band ever since. So really that's a weird little statistic there, because Adrian was not in the band the entire 80s, so his writing contributions were missed. It's a very controversial decade for Iron Maiden. Definitely one of their least successful periods. They went from playing just massive arenas and shows to eventually later in the 90s just playing clubs and things again. When Blaze took over, it was just a really strange time. The 90s were a strange time for a lot of bands. Huge transitional period when it came to the form of media that was being consumed, when it came to the rise of the internet, when it came to just music in general and how it was listened to or consumed on the radio. There's just a lot of changes, and so bands were adapting, bands were doing different things. Iron Maiden's sound, like I say, it got completely stripped down, so the guitar tone was very raw, and there was still, of course, heavy Iron Maiden influences like the harmonies, and soloing was a very prominent part of all these songs, of course, but the solo tone was different. Of course, you have Dave Murray's legato style, his flow, everything he can do just up and down the neck, whereas Janick was a different kind of guitarist than Adrian and Dave when it came to soloing. It was fast. It was a lot of notes. It's a little messier. It's a little all over the place. Some people don't enjoy his style. Me personally, I think his energy that he brings to the band is very welcome, and I think they do some really creative and interesting things live now with him. So I think it all comes together, but Adrian Smith, to me, is that driving force behind the writing, and everybody can play off of him really well. There were a couple of holdover songs and riffs that Adrian Smith wrote in this mix, but there are 10 songs on the album, and we will dive into my ranking of them from 10th to 1st. And I'll be honest, I think this was one of my least favorite albums ranked, actually. The 90s in general, I'm just not a huge fan of. Even Fear of the Dark, which I know some people love that album. I'm just not a huge fan of just really the 90s in general when it came to a lot of heavy metal and heavy music. I mean, there were some great bands out there doing their thing, but a lot of my favorite bands just, the directions they went in were just not my favorite. And everybody says Metallica. I think Metallica was the only band that kind of handled the shift the way a lot of bands probably should have handled the shift. You either attack it with your best stuff and make people miss you, or you switch up your sound altogether so that it was more, consumable for a new generation. And Iron Maiden, they tried to go back, which you never want to go back to an original sound. It just didn't hit for me. Now, there are some hidden gems. There are some great songs throughout these lists, but I will warn you, the 2000s is when I start really enjoying Iron Maiden stuff again, like all together, like full-on albums of songs I really like. So we're going to get into it now, starting with number 10 for me is maybe controversial, but I'm going to go with Bring Your Daughter to the Slaughter. And I just do not like that song at all. It is not a song that I resonate with. It's a jokey song. I know some of the band thinks it's kind of like, man, why did we make that? It's weird because it's one of those anthem songs from the album. Like people sing it, people get into it. Live, it's kind of one of those that people just cheer out. Um, I don't like it. I never have. I thought it's always been kind of weird, jokey song. It's I believe like got some significance in I don't know, maybe the Charlotte the Harlot series. I think there were four songs written with that total like idea out there, and I think it's part of that. It might not be. I know there was one more that was like that. Like I said, I don't know much about it. I don't love this song. I've listened to it a number of times. It was one of the first I actually got from the album when I was listening to Iron Maiden. I didn't have the complete albums for a lot of the albums when I was like actually starting to get into them. I would just get a couple of songs here and there and listen to them. Like I say, the actual physical media was hard to acquire until recently for me. But I listened to the whole album all the way through many, many times, and I have the whole album now, and I've had it for years and everything like that. But when I very first started getting to Iron Maiden and music, this was the first song I heard, and so it kind of like it shifted my opinion. I was listening to a lot of stuff from Somewhere in Time and Seventh Son and Power Slave, and then all of a sudden it was like, what is this dry tone? What is this like this song that just feels so out of place? And also, guys, if you know anything about that Charlotte the Harlot series, let me know because it drives me crazy. I see mixed stuff on the internet. I know there's Charlotte the Harlot, then there's 22 Acacia Avenue, and I think it ends with From Here to Eternity. I believe that's supposed to be part of the series as well. I think this is like number 3 in that story, but I don't know. It's either that or a different one on this album, but either way. Yeah, I don't know. It's just never really resonated with me. And it's weird because some of the other songs in the middle, like this is by far and away the song that I least like on the album. All the other ones in the middle, from 9 to probably like 3, could change around. Like they could switch a little bit. They could be in and out of positions. I could be in the mood for some or the other or whatever. This song is just one of my lowest rated in the entire catalog of Iron Maiden, believe it or not. And it is what it is. Some people love it, some people hate it. You're not wrong if you like it, you're not wrong if you hate it. I just, for me, it's just the last one on the album. Next, we have No Prayer for the Dying at number 9, which this is what I'm saying about this album. This song is very underrated. I actually kind of like this song. Coming in at number 9, there's a lot of good stuff in here, a lot of good writing. It's got some feel to it. It's got some like background atmosphere that I like a lot. And it's funny. The last 2 times I've listened to this song, the first time I was like, man, I kind of like this. This is really, really good, really underrated, really good song. And then the time after that, I was like, man, I don't know if I can sit through it. Like, once you hear it, you hear it. It just doesn't really excite me. It doesn't get me going. On this album, though, it is a well-written song. It is a song that I enjoy listening to, but it's just never been one that I go, yeah, that's one I got to go listen to, And the opening riff, like, until I was reminded about how good it really was at the core, it just never struck me, And so I heard somebody else talking about it a little while ago, like, yeah, it's a pretty good opening song, pretty good underrated song all the way through. And I'm like, yeah, it is, but like, maybe it's underrated because I just don't remember it too much or too well. I don't know. But yeah, it's got good elements throughout the whole thing. It's not like a jumble. It's not a mess. It's not a cheap anthem song or anything. It's so funny. You guys are going to hate this list because my top few songs that I like are songs that a lot of people are like, this song is ridiculous. I hate it. I think the whole album, for the most part, is very tongue-in-cheek from the writing to the lyrics to the song titles, all of it, And it's, like I say, one of those more quote-unquote dangerous departures. The band tries to get a little edgier for the 90s, Everything gets a little sharper and a little less, I don't know, polished and put together. So it's, yeah, I don't know. No Prayer for the Dying just falls a little flat. That's why it's at my number 9. Coming in at number 8 for me is going to be Public Enema number 1. It's just another one of those really just tongue-in-cheek name, tongue-in-cheek kind of song. It's got some good writing in it. It's just, for me, it's like No Prayer for the Dying, really. It's just like It's one that I kind of remember. It's one that I listened to very early on and thought, hey, that's pretty good. But there's so much better out there. And even on the album itself, I think there's just so many more cohesive songs that do a little something for me. Mind you, this album, the whole album is an album that I just do not really vibe with. It's one of my lowest rated albums. I don't think even the top songs on the album are that great. It keeps with the tone, it keeps with the theme, and it feels different than some of the other songs in the fact that it does feel like there's a little more raw emotion in it at times, but it just doesn't all come together right. It's missing a little something. There's not really a whole lot of soul in the album in how I feel, like from what I like about Iron Maiden, like it's still got the core feature functions of Iron Maiden. They do harmonies, they have solos, they write some good stuff. The bass is prominent. Bruce is doing his thing, but it's like, it just comes together in a very different kind of way. Whereas like I said before, the last couple of albums, they had 8 great songs on all of them. It's like, where do you choose your favorite on the last 3 albums? Here, it's 10 songs, and it's just bits and pieces of good stuff. It's good ideas. It's stuff that just doesn't have that punch. I mean, we'll get to it later on, but even some of the higher rated songs, they're just like, they just feel like afterthoughts almost for a lot of it. And I don't know if that was kind of in response to, hey, there's a lot of tension in the band. I know Steve wanted to take it back to a more stripped down, that's why Adrian kind of had his issues and had to leave for a little while, because they were just like restricting the creativity and the direction you could go in. The last few albums, they all changed their tones, the sounds, everything sounded really different, really bright, really atmospheric. And it was very synth heavy. So then you get to this album where everything just kind of blends together to me. And a lot of people do like that stripped down sound. I mean, there's nothing wrong with liking it either. It just wasn't for me. So this song kind of gives you a little bit of that hope for the last couple of years, but then it also comes back down into what No Prayer was doing. So it gives me a little something. It's not everything though. Another one of those middle songs, it's just depending on what mood you're in, it can kind of flip around and switch into different positions. But for now, it's going in the number 8 spot. Coming in at number 7, we're going to do Run Silent, Run Deep. And that song, to me, it's in this like middle 4 of songs that they just really blend together. The next 4 songs, you can tell, I mean, they really will switch at any moment. There are very distinct riffs and lines in these songs, but they get mixed into the feel of a filler album. Run Silent, Run Deep was that for me. It's, they try to do their thing where they bring in famous literature, famous, movies and quotes, and they tie in history and stuff like that. But again, it just all kind of falls flat on this album. It feels, like I say, it's a mix of serious and like gritty versus tongue-in-cheek, jokey. It's some of the music sounds kind of fun. Some of the music sounds kind of depressing. You just have no idea tonally what is going on the album as far as theming. And this song just gets kind of lost in the shuffle for me. It's number 7, kind of just an uneventful number 7. It's one I can listen to, but one I'm not going to be like, we need to put this on right now. And it sucks because I know a lot of people like this album. I know a lot of people enjoy the 90s stuff. I was very much not a 90s guy. So the next few years of albums are just like, I mean, there's a handful of songs that I really, really go to. And there's going to be a lot of surprises in there for sure. But yeah, just a in the middle, uneventful 7. The next one at number 6 is going to be Fate's Warning. Now, Fate's Warning is another one of those middle songs that just gets kind of lost. It's got a very ominous tone, though, which I always thought was pretty cool. It's the redeeming quality that this song has for me is like, it always felt very dark, and I always felt this sinking feeling when I first listened to it that I continue to get every now and then. It's this weird nostalgia thing for me. But Fate's Warning, to me, it just feels a little more ominous, a little more probably what they were going for on the album. It just lacks a lot of that explosiveness, and then they kind of shoehorn some parts in there that I just don't feel like really fit. a big thing that Iron Maiden has done many years and has done again recently is they will have like really powerful harmonies in the intro to start out songs or albums, and then continue them and somehow kind of flow into them after solos, which sounds incredible. You have this great solo, then this harmony bit, and then you kind of come back down into the end of the song. And it's the typical Iron Maiden blueprint for a lot of songs, but man, it just works so well. And it sounds good, and you always want more. Fates Warning tries a little bit of that and just does not deliver at all to me. It's a solid number 6 on an album that overall to me is not very solid. Yeah, so it's just gonna chill at 6, and yeah, that's about it for Fates Warning. It's kind of just there, you know. Number 5, the next song, actually some of my friends' favorite songs on the album, and really higher rated song in general, is Mother Russia, which I will give them credit. There are some really cool riffs in here, and it starts out pretty powerful. It hits you right in the face. Feels a little tongue-in-cheek, and then, you know, again, they're trying to tie in some stuff that usually works, does not work for me here. Overall, just a solid song, one that, you know, it's like I say, the last 2 or 3 songs kind of all just blend together for me and go in the rotation. If it's not, you know, when I think of No Prayer for the Dying, I think of very iconic, strong intros for these songs on an album level. Like, I could tell them all apart from their intros, but then after that, it's all just like, all right, go back to the chord structure, go back to the same, you know, couple of notes. We got Bruce doing his thing, you know, and then a solo somewhere in there. So it just felt kind of more like the same, you know. Okay, I know this song from the intro. Yeah, it's very, very standout. Usually Iron Maiden songs have very strong intros that lead into different vibes and feelings, and, you know, Bruce takes over and the bass kind of pops, and then they hit their harmonies again, and then they, you know, they go into a solo. This one, it's just like intro, and then just, you know, kind of the way the 90s worked. I mean, Fear the Dark broke that trend a little bit with some of the songs, but man, you get into album 10 and 11 with Blaze, and it's just like chords, a solo in there somewhere, chords. You know, it's just like really not a whole lot going on. You know, it makes you miss Adrian a lot. It makes you miss the little flair he adds to it, you know, dive bombs on certain songs, you know, like a harmonic here or there that just kind of adds this little just bright tone to a song, or like accents something that everybody else is doing in the band. You know, it, like I say, it just does not feel like it has a whole lot of soul to me. And Mother Russia, like I say, it starts out very promising. It hits you right in the face, and then we just kind of fall off. So it's going to sit there at number 5. After this, though, the songs going forward, I think, are more, you know, in the same vein of Iron Maiden songs, I guess. The short, kind of earworm, catchy songs, but again, still falling kind of flat. But yeah, we'll keep this one here at 5. All right, here's one, number 4, Hooks in You, that it's just hard to take serious. It's a more kind of upbeat, you know, fun song. This is the other one that I'm like, is this the one that's in the Charlotte the Harlot series? I don't know. For some reason, I can't remember, and it just is what it is. But one of these, Bring Your Daughter, or Hooks in You, or something like that. It's like I say, the tone is weird. It's, again, just a tongue-in-cheek album where they try to have some serious notes or some serious departure from what they were doing before, and it's a complete shift in sound. But this song, for some reason, it's like just one of those, you know, kind of poppier, upbeat, you know, whatever songs. It has not a whole lot going for it when it comes to writing. I mean, we're talking about boring guitar work. This is probably the most boring guitar work song on the album. But, you know, it's just one of those catchy songs that goes on. I can listen to it without listening to it, if you know what I mean. So really, if you think about it, it's not like a great song, but when I'm listening to the whole album, you know, I'm kind of singing this a little bit, kind of getting into it. It's not great. I have it in the same kind of category as the last few, but for a different reason, where those just kind of blend together and all the, you know, the chords get kind of same muddied up, that kind of thing. This one, it has that, but just a different vibe. So, you know, altogether, I think this one is a good overall song, but it's not a very memorable song. It's going to sit at number 4, though, just because I think the whole album, it kind of lacks. I would say this is, one of the better songs on the album as a song, but if you compare it to anything from the previous 7 albums, it's got to be one of the lowest rated songs, if not the lowest rated song in that time. And that's what I'm working with here, in my opinion. It's like, you have a whole album of songs that I just think are very not up to the standard of Iron Maiden. And I just, I can even respect album 10 and 11 with Blaze. I can even respect some of the darker songs on Fear of the Dark that a lot of people find depressing or just like, not Iron Maiden or whatever. But I can respect those more because at least they have that serious tone with them that accompany the darker themes. Like, this album makes no sense to me because it's like, hey, we're going to go for a grittier sound, but also we're going to joke around and dance in fields. So, like, I get that you can have that satirical layer to your albums and everything like that, but I also think that if you're going to really drive home that, hey, hard, edgy sound, you need to bring it together and drive it home. So I don't know. It's not trying too hard in any direction. It's just trying hard enough in two different directions that don't work together. Yeah, we're staying at number 4 there, and then we'll get into the top 3. Here at number 3, we're going to go with The Assassin. For a while, Assassin sounded kind of like Run Silent, Fate's Warning, just right there in the middle with that intro that you can kind of tell what it is and then indistinguishable pattern and everything like that. But for me, this song actually felt probably the most like what they would go for if everything kind of felt very cohesive and together. The Assassin to me has always been a song that in all of its No Prayer for the Dying kind of blandness, it still feels like a pretty good Iron Maiden song. It feels like something they would work on and they would go to. But it definitely sounds, the same problems we have. We just have that same guitar tone. We have the same, chords going into it and everything like that. Very atmospheric kind of tone in the background, especially during the intro and whatnot. And I harp on these intros a lot. Like, I really hold on to them because I think there's very distinguishable, different, interesting sound bits for each of the introductions to the songs. And then after that, it's like, okay, the rest we can just, sing over, put some chords, and that's it. They're finding their footing with the new band, of course, the new structure. I'm very hard on this album, but I mean, really, you lose the driving force behind your writing for an album, and you bring in a new era of writing with all of a sudden changing your style up too. I mean, you got to think like Janick was listening to Iron Maiden before this, and then comes into the band and he's like, hey, everything you just heard, we're going in a different direction, which, yeah, bring your style, bring your tone, but also we need to do something different. So tough ask, of course, but I think it's delivered pretty much all the way through in this song. And like I say, out of those filler middle kind of songs, I think it is one where it does hit all the marks a little bit better. I think a lot of people with this album, they'll pick and choose which one of their filler middle kind of songs is like, oh, that's my song. That's the one. I like the intro. I like the rest of the song. Since they're so similar, though, I think that's why a lot of people really will look at the album. Even if you love this album, look at the album and just say like, hey, that song I picked because that was one of the first ones I heard, and that was that iconic No Prayer riff that I really got into. I think that's kind of how it is. I mean, if I'm wrong, that's fair, but that for me, that's kind of how this album is. It's like one of those songs just grabs you, and then that's your song, Whereas like some of the other albums, there's a lot of competition for, man, I'm really in the mood for this song, or that song's really good, or man, there's too many good songs on this album. But this one, I just feel like it's a little more cohesive. It comes together a little better. Probably one that I gravitated towards early on. And, you can tell what the next 2 songs are. They're not going to be anybody's favorite, really, but they're up there for me. So, again, pot calling kettle black, but it is exactly that. Like, I just heard these next couple of songs. I had more fun with them, and that's kind of why they stuck with me. And at number 2, we have Tail Gunner for me. along the lines of just liking different songs or whatever you like. There's no right or wrong answer for food, music, games, songs, any of that stuff. If you like it, that's for you to like. And like I say, this album for me is just not my cup of tea. It's not one that I really gravitated towards. But I can look at things pretty objectively in songs and rankings. I'm going to be interested to see how people like this album and what they like about songs. For me, Tail Gunner just feels like, and it worked perfectly on me, but it feels like a song that they were like, we really need to recapture what we've done, but in a new way. And it feels like the shot down, recycled Aces High. It's not even close to how good Aces High is, but you feel like you're along for the ride. It was never super catchy for me, but they paint a good picture of being a pilot. It's Tail Gunner being in this song. It feels like it was made for a scene in a movie or something. And again, like if you listen to it, it doesn't flow very well. It's not one that's super catchy when it comes to the writing of the actual instruments or anything like that, but it is one of those, kind of anthem-y songs. I think they opened the tour with this when they did it in the 90s, so it wasn't like a really powerful intro, but it just felt like Iron Maiden light, And I know they want, again, I say it a million times, they want that stripped down sound. They got it. And this is exactly that. It feels like older, glorious songs, very watered down, yet I like it. I don't know. It's just one of those songs. It's simple. It's one that I have to listen to anytime I have the album on. It's a song that I didn't like for a while because I compared it to other ones. But once you stop comparing it, once you stop seeing it like, oh yeah, it's just this song, but worse, it feels like, okay, this is actually a decent song. And if you listen to the guitar work underneath, it's not as basic as some of the other ones on the song or the album too. So, for me, it's a solid number 2. It's one I could probably always listen to. And that's kind of what I look for when I do these rankings is like, what am I looking to listen to every time I pick up the album? What if I have the thing on shuffle and this song comes on? Am I skipping it or am I staying? And this one I'll typically stay with. It's not super long either, so it's not like a big ask to listen to this. Especially the newer albums, it's like there could be parts of the song that are just legendary, just great parts of the song. And it's like, all right, after 6 or 7 minutes of it, it's like, okay, I'm good. Let's move on. But yeah, that's my number 2. And at number 1, we have Holy Smoke, which I know people hate this song. I know this is a lot of people's least favorite song on the album. I think mostly because tonally, it's a complete tongue-in-cheek joke. It's just a total visual oddity for Iron Maiden. This is the one where they're in the fields and they're like just dancing around and stuff's weird. I like it though. I think it's weird. I think it's something they really, they want to be different from their older stuff, and this is different from their older stuff, but also it feels great. I think it's super catchy, super fun to listen to. It's actually one that I will rate higher despite the album. Like a lot of these songs are going to be low in my overall ranking of all the songs. Holy Smoke kind of makes its way up there towards the middle. And, I think a big problem that a lot of people had with this direction they went in was that they were not taking it as serious, which I don't mind. I like when a band has fun with stuff. And this felt like one of the only fun album songs. It felt like one of the only fun things they did. It felt like they were actually just writing something and just, messing around. I don't even know if the band really likes this song, but man, it's just one like, it's super catchy. It's super fun to listen to. There's nothing like profound or crazy on it, but I just cannot help but sing this all the time. I cannot help but quote this all the time. It's just one of those, I'm going to be honest about my rankings. I don't care if it's, winning any popularity contests or anything, but you got to admit, this one is just overall, whether you dislike the tone or anything like that, it is a fun song. It's one that if it came on in a pub somewhere, I would probably expect a lot of people to just be vibing to it without even knowing what it was. Yeah, I don't know. That's kind of the list, though. And yeah, we'll go through all these again. But yeah, number one is Holy Smoke, believe it or not. Yeah, and so to wrap this one up, like I say, it was just overall the album itself is just not my favorite. The '90s was the dark period for me for Iron Maiden. Even some of the higher rated songs and albums were the ones that I still just don't vibe with really. And I grew up in the '90s, so music to me was very different. And the music before and after the '90s really hit hard for me. I like some '90s music, of course, but there was a very big nostalgia factor. And the problem with nostalgia is it's the most amazing and just depressing feeling at the same time. It's one of the only emotions that is both happy and sad at the same time. So for me, it's like youth, it's pure joy, it's no stress, it's growing up, it's music that is designed to wake me up in the morning and get me going versus, I've had a long, rough day at work or whatever. So, the '90s is just a strange period all around. I think a lot of good bands had kind of hit the panic button or the reset button at the wrong time. But yeah, that's my list. We are going with Bring Your Daughter to the Slaughter at 10, No Prayer for the Dying at 9, 8 is Public Enemy number 1, Run Silent, Run Deep at 7, Fate's Warning at 6, Mother Russia at 5, then Hooks in You at 4, 3 is The Assassin, 2 is Tail Gunner, and 1 is Holy Smoke. Yeah, I mean, drop your lists if you want to. Which songs do you like? Which songs don't you like? Like I said, there's no right or wrong answer. Yeah, I respect anybody's list. I love looking at people's lists too. And sometimes people be dropping, some knowledge about the songs or saying like, hey, listen to it, but think about this or whatever. And it's like, okay, yeah, I could see that, and it kind of changes your perspective a little bit. But yeah, that's what we got going on here. Anyway, thank you so much for watching. I will see you in the next one. I did take a longish kind of recording break for a while. My other channel was doing some big things, and so I was just working on that a little bit, keeping going on that. And then, of course, Twitch was doing its thing. So I've been working on a lot of different projects. This channel is not forgotten about, though. I have a couple of other things I'm making right now as well, and we'll throw that together pretty soon too. But thank you all for hanging out. Thank you all for checking this out, and I will see you in the next one.